This is the Average Joe Strongman Show.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Lee, and this is my brother from another mother, Mike. This is the Average Joe Strongman Show.
Hello, hello.
So we got a great one coming up tonight. This is actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, this is our first podcast with two people at the same time.
It is, correct.
So we have some very unique people that are important to the sport of strongman.
Very nice people,
actually,
by the way.
Yeah, very nice people, absolutely. That have streamlined the process of organizing and promoting shows.
Registration, scoring.
Registration, scoring, entries, the whole shot. It just makes it such a seamless process. I mean, Mike and I have both been using it for a couple of years now, and the ease that it and the pressure that it takes off of the promoter is monumental.
It sure beats Google Sheets and spreadsheets.
And Google Sheets and
spreadsheets
and scrambling, trying to figure out who's scoring what. So,
yeah.
We're very excited to have them on board. The creators and founders of Iron Podium, Craig and Lindsey Kilgo. And there they are.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Hello.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Are we saying your name right? Kilgo? Pronouncing it right?
Yes.
I didn't butcher that, did I? Okay.
No, great.
Good, because usually I do.
So let's get right to it. Could you give anybody watching, listening, a little bit of background, like who you guys are, where you're from, the family, what you do for a living? Let us know who Iron Podium, who's behind Iron Podium.
All right. Yeah. So we're in Richmond, Virginia now. I grew up here, but I lived in Northern Virginia for a little bit, and that's where we met, up in Northern Virginia. And now we have 2 kids. We have a dog, couple cats here, so full house down in Richmond. But yeah, do you want to say how we met?
So I was doing some Olympic weightlifting when we were up in the DC area, and I actually was the assistant coach at a USAW certification that Lindsey took.
All right.
And awesome. So that's where we met, and I was impressed that she took things seriously and had her own shoes.
Nice.
You know, if you ever
it's
want
all about the shoes with the ladies,
right?
It's all about the shoes.
Yeah. With pink highlights on the shoes. So if you ever want to train, I train out of a storage unit in Arlington, Virginia.
Awesome.
All right.
So somehow she didn't immediately assume I was an axe murderer trying to get her to
Good call.
I did tell my roommate, I was like, if I don't come back.
Yeah. The disclaimer.
Yeah,
you don't hear from me in 24 hours.
Yeah, it all works.
That's awesome. And then what do you guys do for a living? Lindsey, start with you. What do you do for a living?
So I'm a personal trainer now.
Excellent.
I did, when I was in Northern Virginia, I planned special events for the American Diabetes Association.
Okay.
So I do have some event planning in there. But I'm personal trainer now. And then our kids are actually home full time with us. So we homeschool them. So I do that too. Yeah.
And Craig, how about you?
I am an enterprise architect at Virginia Commonwealth University.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Mostly just IT, jack of all trades type of stuff.
So I'm kind of smelling this like web development, IT, the event planning. Somehow this kind of all came together.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, guys, what got you interested in strongman?
So I've been in gyms for a while, personal training, managing, things like that. And being in that environment got talked into lots of different things, CrossFit at first, and then powerlifting. And then somebody brought in a log and they were like,
yes, that's how it starts.
Yes, that's right.
You obviously look like you lift, so you want to try this log. And it took me a little bit, but once you get it once, it was like, oh, that was fun.
Yep.
Well, thankfully you weren't offended by that. Sometimes you say to one, "You look like you lift." What?
Oh,
like,
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
So then I found a coach And he's actually become one of our dear friends. And his name's Barry Von Perkins, and he's been around Strongman for a while.
Good dude. Really good dude.
Yeah, really good dude. Right. And so I think that was a part of, what kept me going back. It became a family.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. So.
And Craig, how about you? Have you ever competed in strongman?
I've never competed in strongman. Like I was saying, I was doing some Olympic weightlifting, but I've been to I've been to every meet that Lindsey has ever competed in.
Cool. Come to the dark side, man.
That's right.
Olympic weightlifting, I mean, I feel like that helped me a ton in strongman.
For sure. Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I think Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting are much more technical. Whereas, they're really watching, to make sure you hit depth and watching, technique, and there's no faults, when you lift, right? Strongman's like, are you going to hitch when you do? You're going to ramp?
Yeah.
Okay, just do it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just go.
Just lift it, right?
That's what I tell when I coach athletes for strongman. I say, I'm going to teach you this really precise form, but at the competition, like if you do whatever, it's fine.
Still going to count.
Yeah.
When did you guys launch Iron Podium? How did that kind of come to fruition?
So I competed for a while in Northern Virginia, and then we took some time to have our family. I was always itching to get back, but it's tough with little kids, and you have to be training and then gone for the whole day to compete. So it took me a while. So in 2019, the kids were old enough that we could leave them with Craig's parents. And so I did my first competition, and I was, so excited. And there was a new promoter. This is his first show. And it ended up just taking a really long time. And by the end of the day, my body's exhausted. I'm exhausted. We had a 4-hour drive home. The kids are at home. And a lot of the delay had to do with scoring. It was really tough. They were trying to score and reorder. And then at the end, to even just fully tally the winners, it took like 90 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Possibly more. I mean, it took 90 minutes between almost every event.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
At a certain point, I saw like people in the back, like writing on paper. And I'm like, what is,
what's going on?
Are we doing some math on paper here to get these?
Yeah. Well, Lee and I have both been around the sport long enough to know back when it was, pen to paper, pencil to paper. Yep. I mean, and then, became kind of spreadsheets and Google Sheets, but man, just archaic now in retrospect, right?
Yeah. So I was just tired, and I looked at him and I was like, can we please fix this? Can we fix this?
There's gotta be a better way.
Yeah. And so we could.
So 2019, so 3 years it's been around, right?
Yes.
That
competition was April 2019.
Yep.
It took us a few months, September. So just really a few months to get it to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So I think we had our first beta test like end of June of 2019. And then the first event where we kind of introduced it to the public was September 2019.
Wow.
It's been a game changer because again, when I first started promoting it was spreadsheets and, again, the pen to paper. And since I've been using you guys, Lee can attest to this too. It just goes so much easier. People can, pull out their phone, check their score, like where you stand versus, again, 3-4 years ago, how many reps you get? What'd you get? Oh, and how many did he get? Like you're trying to keep track of everybody because you don't want to kind of pay attention to where you stand in that event or in that comp. And it was just so hard. Now it's right there. Snap.
Yep. And I can remember when it came down that, okay, we're using Iron Podium. I'm like, oh, come on. What is this? What, Mike and I had been working together on this for a couple of years by that point. It's like we had the spreadsheet down. I was like, okay, we know what we're doing, right? So why do we have to use this?
Right.
So, and then my wife actually does all the scorekeeping for every one of my comps that I host. So she's like, well, I was like, okay, we're just going to figure it out, right? And it took her about 3 minutes from when she opened Iron Podium. She goes, okay, boom, 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 boom. She goes, this is pretty self-explanatory. And it was easy to the point where she was almost like, I hope I'm doing this right because it's just it was that simple, right? And then the live scoring, because that has always been used to be one of her biggest complaints is people coming to the score table. Well, where am I at? Where's my score at? Where am I?
or it's wrong. My score's wrong. You have my score wrong.
Exactly. Right.
Right.
It was all that stuff has gone away. So
pre-Iron Podium, I would always say in the rules meeting, leave the scorekeeper alone.
Yeah.
Don't even do it.
I would actually tell them that leave the scorekeeper alone or she'll bite you, right? I mean, it was that just to the point of threatening them, right? So,
and you may not know Deb, but she would.
Yeah, for sure. So when you guys were launching Iron Podium, what was your biggest hurdle or obstacle or roadblock for getting it off the ground?
So at first, we had to be at every single meet, and we knew we want Strongman to grow a ton, and be as big as anything else, powerlifting, CrossFit, whatever. Right. Yep. So we knew we could not be at every competition. We wanted it to be user-friendly so you could pull up the system and figure it out. But we knew at first we needed to be at every competition. So that was challenging, making sure that we could pick the ones that, we knew were strategic for us to be at, make the trip, make the time, and then solving the bugs that popped up. But maybe Craig can talk to a little bit about the bugs that popped up.
Yeah, well, there's definitely some. We were at a meet in North Carolina where it was, I definitely had to do some serious stuff, and people like looking on were like, is he hacking Google right now? Like, what is going on?
Right.
But it was not when we the first like 2 meets that we took it to, it was definitely not even a complete product. Like we were just, really testing it out, because you can run data through the system, but you really don't understand the full, like, this is the true amount of data that you're going to have to handle until you go to an actual meet.
And that's to be expected, though, I think, right?
Yeah.
I mean, early on, baby steps,
Exactly.
Off the ground.
Yep.
Yeah. So probably just being there and being able to handle the bugs. And then when we released it, when we stopped going, still being available by phone, every Saturday, pretty much all day, and sometimes Sundays too.
No,
I was gonna say, I have to imagine your weekends are pretty tied up.
Yeah, they were. And now they're good, but.
And guys, I can remember the first couple of competitions, and I can remember the first couple of competitions that I used Iron Podium, and I got a message from one of you two every time. It was on Fridays, like, hey, look, you're running any problems tomorrow, here's my number, call me, right? And guys, that's the support that you give to the system is phenomenal. That was just, and fortunately I never had to make that call, and say, hey, I got a problem. But it was nice knowing that it was there, right? That if something went wrong, that you guys were available, and that's fantastic. So
it's like Cerberus and their customer service, because man, Ken Nowicki is on his game.
On it. For sure.
But you guys are great in that regard. Yeah, because I've had the same experience. Like if I have an issue, and I get a response, pretty quick. So thank you for that. So let's talk about after you launched it, right? How did you go about it? You weren't at every meet then, right? How did you go about creating awareness and soliciting promoters to use it? Was it just kind of organic, or did you proactively go out? Like how'd that happen?
So the plan was we wanted to bring it back to this meet in North Carolina. And so that was the first step, reaching out and offering the system. And so we did that, and we got lucky there. The state rep for the USS state rep, it was a USS competition. The state rep was there, and he liked the way it worked, and so asked us to come to do the state championship. And then at the state championship, John Albrecht was there, and we got to meet him. And he said, we've been looking for a system like this. I almost just paid somebody to build me a system like this. So we started talking to him pretty quickly about how we can work together. And then we have, my first ever competition was in Delaware, and an event promoter named Kyle Bixler, and he's known for putting on big, well-run competitions. So our dog, so Kyle, I reached out to him and asked if he'd be willing to use our system, and he did. So that was, one way. He has a lot of people at his competitions that also host competitions. So that it started kind of growing organically a little bit after that.
Okay. So have you really ever put your foot on the gas as far as being proactive and promoting, or is it just been kind of organic?
It was just a handful of people that we reached out to, and then it started organically.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Never done any paid advertising of any kind.
No.
Yeah. Well, listen, word of mouth is the best way to go. That's the most valuable. So
Yeah, and when you got a good product, I mean, word of mouth is the best way to spread it anyway. I mean, it just goes like wildfire. So, and I don't know if you guys kept track of this, but how many shows or promoters did you have use it during the first year when you launched it? Approximately.
Yeah,
We have the numbers.
Yeah, so the first year, the 2019, starting since our first one was June, technically the beta test, we had 4 in 2019, and then 2020 we had 20 shows.
Okay, cool.
And then 2021 we got up to 270.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you think about it too, like you guys,
but for certain world events.
Well, you guys launched too, like with COVID kind of hitting, and so that I'm sure hindered it. But I mean, you go to that site now and you just scroll down. I mean, there are just dozens and dozens of shows, so that's fantastic.
Yeah,
cool. Well, the next question I had was, how have you grown over the past few years? But now we know, right? Because you just told us. So that's great. So let's actually take a quick 2-minute break, guys. We'll come back and do the intermissions. We can talk to or show people what some of the speaking of shows, what some of the upcoming shows are the next several months. So hit it when you're ready, Lee.
Okay, we'll be back 2 minutes. And we're back.
Here we are.
So, guys, now you're an official partner with United States Strongman. I mean, all USS shows are required to use iron podium for registration and scoring. And I know, Lindsey, you talked about it a little bit when you had your discussion with John Albrecht. But, I mean, how did that relationship come about after you had your initial discussion with John?
Yeah, so we really wanted to help just streamline the system.
Mm-hmm.
I'm, from back in the day where you mailed in a check and you hoped it got there. And,
Right.
And so we wanted to make it so user-friendly for not only the athletes, but for the event promoters and even for Willie and John to be able to run this in a smooth manner. So they're, the sanctioning fees are going to one place and it's checked off that it was paid. And
Mm-hmm.
so with the conversations with John, we said, we can build you a fully integrated, if somebody, they build their event, they only have to do it once, they send it to you for sanctioning, you approve it, and then it gets published live. And then, you know, the memberships, they get linked straight there. There's no cards. There's no, you know, chasing people down, you know, if they have a membership or they don't. And so we pitched that to John and he liked that idea. And so we started then our relationship with Willie and talking to him about it and how he'd like it to look. And so building something fully integrated, it only made sense that then everybody had to use the system. There was no way to not use it. And so,
cool.
yeah, it ended up working out well.
I will tell you that just that part alone, the membership piece,
I was just getting ready to say,
because that was one of the biggest headaches. People would show up, you got the little slip of paper. Did you pay? Did you not pay? Here's your sticker. Now, like if it's 2 weeks before the show and I can go into Iron Podium and see that someone hasn't paid their membership, like I can even go, hey, pay your membership. Like you got to be a member. You can't compete if you don't, right? So much better.
Oh,
so much better.
Unbelievable.
Safe to say that, you know, because you're the official partner with USS, you have more USS shows than anything else, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Now you do have Strongman Corp and unsanctioned shows on there. How much growth have you seen, I guess, specific with the unsanctioned shows? Because I feel like I've over the last few years seen more and more of those start to pop up. It's still not a ton, but, you know, have you seen growth there with the unsanctioned shows?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And we let anybody use Iron Podium. It's, you know, fully open to anybody that's involved in the sport of Strongman. We just, you know, we love Strongman. We want to support it growing, however that looks. So we've seen growth there for sure. Last year we had somewhere around 25 unsanctioned shows. And this year we have about 50 so far, you know,
50 unsanctioned shows.
July.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So when I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think unsanctioned's, you know, a great way to kind of get into starting to be an event promoter. I've done 3 unsanctioned shows at this point, and this year actually on the break saw my event pop up on the screen. So I'm going to promote it right now.
Do it. Put it out there.
I'm hosting RVA's Strongest Woman on September 24th, and it's my first USS sanctioned show. But I did feel like having a couple unsanctioned shows under my belt has given me confidence to then now sanction.
Well, and funny you bring up the intermission, like, you know, like you guys, we want to grow the sport. That was the whole impetus for us doing this podcast, right? We're trying to talk about the sport, help it grow. And one of the things we want to do is help promoters promote their shows. Now, the intermission, you know, we only got a couple minutes. We can't list everything that's in Iron Podium, obviously. So there's a natural bias towards our friends. And it just kind of made sense that, you know, oh, we're going to interview Craig and Lindsey. Oh, Lindsey's promoting a show. Well, let's make sure we put that one in there, right? But while we're all self-promoting, if you are watching this and you are a promoter and you want me to include your show, send me an email, mike@warpathstrength.com, because that's how we're going to get more people, you know, aware, the tens and tens of people that watch our podcast, you know, to help them promote. So anyway, cool.
So my next question, guys, is, you know, how has the site changed since you first launched it? I mean, obviously you guys have made a bunch of revisions, you know, and how do those changes happen? I mean, are you getting feedback from the promoters on a regular basis?
You want to answer that?
Yeah, we get a lot of feedback. The site, the big bones of the site, I think, have been fairly stable.
Yeah.
You know, we get a lot of feedback, and I mean, almost all of it are excellent ideas. Like, oh yes, definitely we'll do that. And we have we have a product roadmap also. So we're constantly working on it. We're constantly improving it, constantly making sure that it works as good as it can. So if anyone has suggestions, we're always open to hear them, and most of those suggestions get incorporated as soon as they can.
Yeah, cool.
You know,
what would you say some of the major ones, or one or two of the major ones, have been since you started in 2019 that you got feedback from a promoter or from Willie or John or somebody and said, "Oh, we got to do that"?
So the biggest one I think was the spectator ticketing, and that
Okay.
I think had to do a lot with COVID too, because
Yeah.
we always knew spectator tickets are a thing, but it
Mhm.
became a thing that needed to be limited
Yeah.
and maybe even connected to the athlete. So each athlete can only have 2 spectators.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we built that into the system. So you can sell spectator tickets and you can limit the total number you sell, or you can limit the total per athlete. So we added that pretty quickly. I don't know if you remember exactly when, but
That's really cool. And the next show that I'm having on August 6th is a smaller venue. And I did not do the spectator ticketing, but in retrospect, in hindsight now, moving forward, I think depending on the venue, that's a great feature because you can't
to
limit the
those,
number of, Huh.
No, it's
Food for thought.
fantastic.
Anything else that was big, or Craig?
Well, the scoring, I mean, that the germ, of Iron Podium was like getting that scoring right. And strongman specifically, I mean, way more than powerlifting or Olympic weightlifting, like the score that you get, it can be a lot more complex than, hey, you lifted 325 pounds and let's add that to 400 pounds. And then that, that's what you get.
There's time, there's distance, right? I mean,
exactly. Getting that standard way to enter for all different types of strongman events was definitely like a big challenge. We definitely kind of reworked a little bit at the beginning, especially distance plus time. That's one of the most fundamental ones to strongman, and also probably the hardest to enter. And then we add other stuff when people like weight plus reps. We've had, that was one we didn't think of at first, and you have promoters being like, we're, in this particular meet, you're going to be able to choose, like stones is a good one. Like you can choose the 125 stone or the 200 stone, and any amount of reps at the 200 stone will be any amount of reps at the 125 stone. Yeah. So having the system able to handle like that kind of scoring was also big.
Yeah, that was great. And then did you integrate the tiebreakers right off the bat, or was that something you added later on?
Early on,
we had tiebreakers, but then working with USS, they're very specific in the way they want their tiebreakers. So we did have to adjust that, because at first I think we did.
So if you do an unsanctioned meet, you can have no tiebreakers. You have body weight. You have look back, or you can do look back and then body weight.
Yeah.
But all USS, by policy of USS, is look back only.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that was fairly early on in the site. All the tiebreakers were there.
And again, another huge time saver for the promoters and the scorekeepers, right?
100%.
They have to go back, because that was another thing my wife was constantly, okay, well, you got 6 ties in 3 different classes, right? You need to sit down and figure this out and be like,
sure.
Okay. Where now it's like, here's your score sheet, right? Here's the, we reorder after before the last event. She goes, here's the sheet. Here's your score sheet. It's ready to go. And then we finished the last event and the award. She's like, boom, boom, here it is. It's already done. As soon as she entered the last, score for the last weight class, like, here's your award sheet. I'm like, so huge time save.
And I don't know about you guys, but I love tiebreakers.
I do too.
It adds a lot of drama. And Lee will tell you, the first show I ever promoted, my tiebreaker, the last event was keg over bar. And the event prior to that was a sandbag carry. They had 3 sandbags. Well, my tiebreaker, and we did have one, was sandbag over bar, right after keg over bar, with the heaviest sandbag they used in the sandbag carry.
That was brutal.
And I had 2 heavyweights go at it for like 3 minutes, Lee? I mean, it was like never ending. And they just kept going and going and going. It was awesome. Love tiebreakers.
Sure. Yep. So if you're able to tell us, you got anything on the horizon coming up, Craig or Lindsey, as far as changes, improvements, or upgrades?
You talked about your roadmap. Yeah. Anything you can share?
Yeah. So we have a few things. People have asked for extra t-shirts to be able to be sold through the site. So we added that, but then there's some different variations of that same feature, selling different things, selling varieties that's going to get.
Yeah. So we have extra t-shirts now, which is really just designed to, like, you're the meet director and you just put a big old order for t-shirts in, and like, oh, I'm going to have 20 extra. So I want to make sure I sell them. Like, you can go ahead and get them sold, but it's really tied very much into just t-shirts. So we're going to have an additional feature that I think will meet a lot of people's needs. Like they've been asking us, oh, can we do this? Can we do that? Which I think we're just going to call it generically add-ons. Okay. And so it'll be like, you can sell an add-on and you can label it whatever you want. It can be a lunchtime meal that you might want to pre-sell. I got
you, yeah.
Or you might have a bag of sponsor products that maybe you'll sell and you can go ahead and sell. So it'll be really flexible. Anything that you need to go ahead and just get up for people to sell that they're going to pick it up at the meet, you can go ahead and put that on, and we'll roll that out later this year. And it'll look a lot like the Spectator tickets and the extra t-shirt purchase.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah, sounds good.
Because I think all the times that I know they just did it at Nationals, like a lot of the equipment, they sold it.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you have that up there already and people know where they can buy it and pay for it before, that's fantastic.
Well, and I will tell you that just being there and helping Chase with that show, and then previously with Tim, it's such a pain because people will say, oh, I'm going to buy this. And then you're like hunting them down, trying to get their money, having to pick up their stuff.
Yes,
it is a headache and a half. So having the ability to sell that ahead of time and have the money, you're done. Because then you're on the hook for it. Then it's like, you didn't just say you want to buy it. Like, you paid $200 for whatever, so you got to get there and pick it up.
It's here. Come get it. Right.
Good for you guys. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, there's a couple other little things that we picked up when we were at Nationals this year that might not even affect most local meets. It just, when things get so big and we're in the 400s of athletes, things like the PDFs, we need to update a little bit, make sure they're all like page numbered and titled and things like that. So we're going to go back and do that in the near future.
Speaking of National, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
No, go ahead. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we have things like we've talked about adding like a volunteer registration and other little things on the.
Oh, man.
Yes, I love it.
Talking.
So,
that's a really good one.
Yeah, we have some big builds. Like that's going to be a bit bigger that are they keep getting pushed because we get these little things.
Sure.
But that is on the horizon.
That sounds awesome. That would be,
oh my God. Really awesome.
Because I'm still doing a spreadsheet for volunteers with
it.
That would be
same thing.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. No, I was going to ask you, you've been to Nationals now a couple of times. How stressful is that for you when you got, 300, 400, 500, athletes?
I did not feel stressed. It's so much fun. I did feel super busy. It's just constant work. That's
a lot of data for sure.
Yeah, because you're getting handed a score sheet.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, you had a smile on your face the whole time I saw you when I was there, which is good. Good, but maybe get a third person to help give you guys a break.
Yeah.
All right, we'll sign you up next year, Mike.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah, especially if there's going to be 600. Once it starts getting that big, it's going to be a lot.
Megan and Jonathan are looking for a big number. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I can remember, Mike, and you might remember this too, when. What's his name? Shoot. Detroit Nationals. Barkley, when he hosted that one.
Yep.
And I had two athletes competing in that, and we had a scoring question, right? And I went back into the room where Albrecht was at, and there were 7 people in there on laptops.
Yep.
Right. And I think
something crashed. I think something crashed, and
but
having to re-enter everything.
It was a nightmare, right? But I can remember there was like 6 or 7 people in there with laptops. And just stacks of paperwork, and I could just see John was just overwhelmed, right? And I'm thinking, okay, and I knew they were doing this into a spreadsheet. But I remember that now. You say that, Mike, that something crashed, and they had to go back from the first event. And I think at that Nationals there was only like 450 athletes.
It was 300 or 400, but the real rub is that Steve Barkley is a great dude, and he runs a fast, efficient show.
Yeah,
and so here he is as the promoter. And he's got this hiccup with scoring that's it's dragging this whole day on when he just wanted to get out of there, So, but if he's going to do it, he's going to do it right.
That's right.
Well, this was awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And really informative. I think everyone's going to love hearing about how this all started and what you guys have coming in the future. Yep. So I'm excited.
Really good stuff.
That are coming.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on for sure, and we'll get you back on again because I know things are going to continue to grow and evolve, and we're going to want to hear from you again soon. So, all good stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Until next time, everybody.
Thank you.